Well, good morning, my brothers in recovery. Hopefully, everyone's having another successful 24 hours. I know I am. Well, I want to talk about something a little bit tough this morning. So, happy Monday. Today, I want to talk about fault. You know, alcoholism is a spiritual corruption, it's a physical disease, and it's a mental disorder. It attacks every aspect of who we are, and it turns us into something else. You know, not a single one among us doesn't have, if not one, probably a laundry list of people that we've hurt with our alcoholism and our addiction. And what makes it such a horrible disease and a horrible ailment is not only that it attacks you on all fronts, but it's the only disease that hurts the people around you just as much as it hurts you, if not more. And so, a lot of us in recovery, we find ourselves at a place where we're at fault for a lot of hurt. And there is a temptation, I think, in some of us to try and explain, and it's a valid point. I never would have done those things if I wasn't drunk. You still did them though. And that's what I kind of want to talk about. It is your fault. It's my fault. It's not the alcohol's fault. Would I have done the things that I did had I not been drinking? Of course not. Not in a million years. But I did. And where that fault lies is that we gave in to temptation. And that's where most of our sin is always going to lie, is giving into temptation. When the devil came at us with the temptation of drinking, and we continued to do it, and we continued to not seek help, that was our sin. And that's what we're at fault for. On top of all of the things that we did to hurt those in our lives, we are at fault for giving into that temptation. And that's a hard pill to swallow. But that's where our forgiveness comes in. I remember when I guess had, I wouldn't say, I will say it was when I was saved, because I had my jail cell conversion. You know, my jail cell come to Jesus, but my true coming to Christ, and when the demon was taken out of me, was when I realized I was coming back from rehab, and it was the end of the night, and I wanted to pray for forgiveness because I felt like I was being a gossip about someone else who was in rehab, and I was feeling guilty about it. And as I was new in my walk with Christ, I knew that I should ask for forgiveness for that. So as I got down on my knees to pray, and I started to ask forgiveness for gossip, which I wasn't even sure if I was, but still, I asked forgiveness for being a gossip, and then it struck me as I was asking for forgiveness for I guess you would call it relatively minor slight, but all sin is equal in the eyes of God. I never asked God for forgiveness for what I had done. I had asked the people that I've hurt forgiveness, and then I went on to hurt them again. But I had asked everyone else but God to forgive me. And it was in that act of finally giving up and submitting to the Lord and asking forgiveness and admitting I was at fault that He came into my soul and into my heart. And He took the demon out of me, kicking and screaming. I can still see its face clawing. It didn't want to go. It was still trying to tempt me on its way out. But He ripped it from my body, and from then on, we made a covenant for my sobriety. But it was in asking forgiveness for what I was at fault for. It's amazing how long it took me to actually ask my Creator to forgive me for all the things that I had done. And it was even longer still, probably several days, when somebody asked me if I had forgiven myself yet. And I hadn't. You know, I was still holding on to a lot of guilt. I probably will hold on to guilt. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. I did something wrong. I'm doing my best to make amends as much as I can and to be a changed man in every capacity that I can. But I hadn't forgiven myself. And the counselor looked at me And he said, but you said that you asked God for forgiveness and God forgave you. And I said, well, yeah, I did. And God forgave me. And he looked at me and he said something so profound. He said, God forgave you. Who do you think you are that the creator of the universe and your Father in heaven can forgive you and you won't forgive you? Who do you think you are? Do you think you're better or that you know better? So you need to forgive yourself. And I'd like to pass that on to anyone else who's listening here who's having a hard time forgiving themselves. Yeah, you're at fault. You ask forgiveness from those you hurt. Most of all, ask forgiveness from God. Christ died on the cross for your sins. That's not just something you put on a bumper sticker, it's real. And when God forgives you, the creator of the universe, the mover of mountains, if he forgives you, who do you think you are that you can't forgive yourself? Forgive yourself. Wake up every day, 24 hours at a time. Do better. Seek God's kingdom, and then the blessings will come. Was it your fault? It was. But it's your responsibility now. It's our responsibility now to keep moving forward, not giving up. It's okay to fall down. It's not okay to stay down. Getting up is mandatory. Okay? God is with you. Ask his forgiveness and forgive yourself. And remember, it's dangerous to go alone. Thanks.